it now.
Oh, it even tells me. Nice. Apparently we are now live.
Apparently we are live. I'm not too sure.
We will wait until things tick over to 8 o'clock and people can join in.
Yeah, I can see us live on YouTube now. It's pretty good.
Nice.
So we'll just get a few things cleaned up here in the background.
Yes, so I can see us live on YouTube as well. So that's a good start.
It is a good start. So we can keep an eye on that. And that way we can see the questions. So for anyone that's tuning in already, you can ask any questions you like.
See, people who are watching now are getting a sneak preview, a behind the scenes little look at us before we go live in a few seconds.
I reckon you can count down, give yourself maybe a 15-second countdown, dude, and then you can go, I reckon.
15 seconds. Okay.
Thereabouts.
Wow. We've hit a milestone, which I'll mention as well.
Okay. And
good to go, Cam.
And Moore's tuned in. There's someone watching. We're good to go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome down to episode number 12 of the Down South Photo Show, coming to you live from lockdown. Good to have you all on board. My name is Brendan Waits. Over there on the, which side is he? Over this way on the screen is my good mate Cam Blake down in Hobart. Good evening, Cam.
G'day, Brens. How are we? You're in lockdown. I'm not. So it's like one of those pizzas you get half and half. This is a half lockdown, half not lockdown.
So it's
false advertising, really.
True. I'm officially in lockdown number 7 for those playing along at home. It's not a record I'm proud of, but it is the fact that this is lockdown number 7 for me. I think my friends in Melbourne are in lockdown 6.0 still, but we came out of lockdown for 11 days and then went back in again. So lucky us.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that Tasmania is still COVID free.
Yeah, we are COVID free, and that's how we'd like to keep it.
Absolutely.
That's why we're not hosting the football grand final here. We've decided that we're gonna cut it short.
Keep up the good work.
That is good.
Now, you mentioned football, so you do get a couple of finals though this weekend. So
we do get some finals, and you must be pretty excited being a true blue and red supporter.
I don't know if I've ever mentioned on this channel that I'm a Melbourne supporter, but
you haven't.
As like all hard done by and downtrodden D supporters, I'm as nervous as hell. But come on, please, this year, I don't care. I don't care if you played on Mars. Just let's.
It doesn't matter where it is.
Let's bring home a cup. That would be.
It would be
amazing.
Nice.
Absolutely amazing.
Just to let you know, we've got some people tuning in. Dave Marland is honouring the subject of eating with a single malt Islay on the rocks.
Oh, okay.
So look at us. We're all drinking so for you guys that are in lockdown, I guess there's a few of you in Melbourne and New South Wales, and that's it. There's ACT. If you're tuning in, hope everyone's going well. We're doing okay down here in Hobart, but this is why we're putting this live episode on for people, so we can give you something to break up the time at home, and hopefully we can get through tonight and give you a few laughs, give you a few tips. We're going to give away a 16 by 24 inch print to the winning Sunrise competition that we're going to announce. Not straight away. We're going to drag it out as much as we can just to keep you here. So grab another bottle, David. You might be here for a
while. Yes, that's right. And would I be right in saying David might have even snuck in an entry to that?
David did sneak in a couple of entries of.
Did he now?
Yeah, he snuck in a couple of the cheeky bugger.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, but that's fine. We can handle that.
The more the merrier. It was great. We got a lot of entries into the Sunrise competition.
We did.
Couple of reasons I'm happy about that. One is it means people are actually watching.
Yeah.
So that's a win. Two, I think we got a few people out of bed and out shooting the sunrise, which is very, very good for you.
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do it, because you're in lockdown, you've got your 5K exercise radius you can go to. So it was good to see people. We had about 15 entries, which is pretty good. And every single one of them was pretty impressive. So we went through them. We've narrowed it down to our top 5, and we'll work it down to the number 1. And we'll build the suspense as much as possible.
Yeah, I think it took about 7 or 8 hours of arguing today between Cam and I picking this top 5. So stay tuned for that a little later.
It didn't come to punches, but
no, it would have been difficult via Zoom, but that's okay. We've hit a mini milestone as we go to air. We have 170 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Which for a topic-specific YouTube channel that's barely a couple of months old, we think that's pretty cool. And hopefully cool. A lot of you have tuned in tonight, which would be great to see. We have got the questions open, so you can fire, or the comments open. You can fire us a comment below on YouTube. We will do our best to say hi to people individually and answer questions individually as we go. A little bit later on, we're going to open the floor to questions, so we might come back to stuff as we go. G'day, Ash. Good to see you tuning in again, mate. Ash Hughes over there in sunny Torquay. We've also got...
if you see me looking a little bit off camera, I'm looking at these comments as we go along, so I'm going to try and multi-skill.
Nice.
Which could end up in tears, but
so Cameron's going to be the moderator. So a little bit of a rundown on what we're going to get up to. Like we did, I think it was episode 7 we did live as well, something like 6 or 7.
Sounds back right.
A month or so ago.
Yep.
We went through a few of Cam and I's favourite images of our own, and we sort of broke them down, gave a bit of a background, talked a bit about them. That got a really good response, so we thought we'd go again with that. We'd 3 of my images and 3 of Cam's that we're going to talk about. As Cam mentioned, we will then announce the winner of our sunrise photo competition. So stay tuned for that. And then, Cam, you've listed here, you want to talk a bit about hiking and photography.
Yeah, we had a cat who was a listener or a viewer, wanted to know a bit more about the overland track and the hikes I do along there. And I guess just in general, just how much gear you need. Do you have to go crazy, and how much weight you need to carry to sort of do some more off the track sort of shots if you want to get off the track a bit and take your camera with you. So we'll touch a little bit on that. That'll probably generate some questions as well. But yeah, I think it's interesting. You can actually pack down quite light and get out on the trails these days. So I'll be talking about that as well.
Very cool. Very cool. And I was hoping to bring us all a development on my search for a new camera system.
Right.
Then we got locked down. So I haven't really had much of a chance to get my hands on much equipment, but we can talk about that if time permits a little later on. Second or third things first. Cam, what is your background tonight?
My background tonight is of a snowy snow gum scene just up near Lake St. Clair, which is sort of bang in the middle of Tassie. This is the other day. We had a little bit of snow. That's around about sort of 800 or 900 meters above sea level. So it actually hangs on a bit longer, the snow up there. So went up there. I expected to get out and get a few more shots, but it just melted too quick. But this is really quite moody and foggy. And just behind that side, there's a tree that's across the road. So that sort of stopped where I was going anyway.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you can see that.
So that came down in the wind. So I backed up and here we are. So it's it's a nice little scene from Lake St. Clair.
You got a rough idea how far above sea level that spot is?
It's about 900 meters.
900. So you've had snow pretty low.
We had snow the other day down to about 500 meters.
Wow.
But it melted off real quick. So I was up there before lunchtime and it was already melting off. So, and I kept going higher and the snow line kept getting lower, which made no sense. So there might have been a front that came through on a certain angle across one part of Tassie and the other part sort of didn't get it. So it was nice. And just the fog in the trees, like the snow gums really work. You got to have that fog in the snow gums to make them really work. So this one was pretty cool. Just
nice
park the car and take a happy snap.
So although someone might raise this question a little bit later on, when you go out shooting snow, do you keep specific settings in mind when you're shooting such, obviously a white subject, or are you just continuing to shoot raw and more focus on composition rather than
look color? I think shooting in snow and in sort of high key scenes, as we call them, you got to be really careful of how you meter for these shots, because the camera can sometimes sort of do a bit of a trick of the metering. So most cameras, as people may or may not know, they are sort of calibrated off 18% gray or middle gray. So if you're in a really high key white scene with not much middle tone, but lots of high key tones, and in this case, highlights and whites, sometimes your camera will go, oh, gee, I can't find a mid-tone. Everything must be mid-tone, so I'll just render it a little bit darker. So you actually, it sounds counterproductive, but you actually overexpose a bit when you're exposing in snow. So I usually expose about a stop over, just so it really renders the snow like that real pure Snow White and the dwarves, but sort of allows the snow just to be quite pure. And the camera sort of has to have a little bit of help. But in regards to that, it's generally aperture priority still. It's just that exposure compensation. I just bump it over a little bit. Yep. And then I'm generally pretty happy when I get back to the computer. And you might still adjust it. You might still underexpose a bit or play with the highlights a bit. But it just gives you a better base to work on if you capture that snow right to start with. And
would you be using a polarizer for snow?
Yeah, I use my polarizer filter. It does not come off my camera. It stays on there until I start doing astro, really. So, and the reason being is like snow reflects a lot of skylight. You can also get reflections off the side of those trees there, all the foliage and stuff like that, especially when you're in a really sort of foggy sort of atmosphere. It's like a big softbox over your scene. So you're getting a lot of reflections off leaves and trunks and roads and stuff like that, especially that little road behind me. And I can't get my sides right here, where the tire tracks are, that dark bit, without the polarizer taking effect, it actually was a different sort of shade altogether. So yeah, I still use my polarizer, overexpose a little bit, and just keep on aperture priority and get the composition I like.
Yeah, nice. Because, I haven't had much experience in snow at all. I mean, I've been up to the high country when it's, fair bit of snow around, but it's not something that I've had much experience in at all. So it's good to pick up a few tips, particularly for people that might be heading down to Tassie or coming to one of your workshops that you might get a little bit of snow cover for, particularly your Cradle Mountain ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do talk about that in the workshops and stuff like that. And it's one of those, it's a bit of a light bulb moment for some people when they realize that the metering system in their camera, again, I always say to people, and I said it just on the weekend, and we were in snow actually. I did an Olympus day up at Mount Field National Park. And I pretty much said, the camera in your hand, it's the smartest dumb thing there is. It's got an amazing ability to be really smart, but unless you're telling it what to do and how to do it, it's quite dumb. It doesn't realize that you're shooting snow. It doesn't realize you're shooting a sunset or a sunrise. So you've really got to, take control of that camera. So we do definitely talk about it in the workshops, and there is that little bit of a light bulb moment when people realize, or maybe the penny drops, oh, that's how the camera is actually reading light. It's not reading what you're seeing, it's just reading what it's calibrated to read. And you need to sort of, give it a bit of a bump here or there. So yeah, we definitely cover that. And
for anyone listening who's been to my entry-level SLR workshop that I run when it's not COVID times, but when I'm able to run it, we spend a good 15, 20 minutes talking about white balance, particularly because a lot of, I don't want to necessarily say beginners, but a lot of people, keen amateurs, let's say, prefer quite often to just shoot in JPEG, or which is using the camera's image processor to process the image rather than you actually doing it through Photoshop or anything like that. So the white balance setting on your camera becomes crucial if you're going to be using the JPEG.
Yeah.
So we do a couple of little things where we'll actually set the white balance incorrectly on purpose, just to get it through to people that when you don't set your white balance properly, you're behind the eight ball already. Your colors are all out. Setting the white balance is really important, particularly if you are relying on JPEG shooting. So the example we do where I run the workshop in my actual shop is under a big bank of fluorescent lights, and we tell the camera that we're shooting under daylight, and all of a sudden all the skin tones become greens and blues, and we talk about color temperature being really important. And it goes back to a lot of people, for example, want to take really nice photos, and the example we always give is if you go to a wedding reception, for example, and when you go to a wedding reception, generally speaking, they have like mood lighting and romantic lighting, and and you'd get your photos back and you go, geez, I don't remember Aunt Mavis having such a bad spray tan, and chances are she had a terrible spray tan, but that's not the reason she's fluorescent orange. It's because you didn't bother to set the white balance properly on your camera.
You've added to her tan for her.
That's correct.
She's been a bit close to the sun. Well, it's fun. It's, we had that same. So on the weekend, like I said, I did a Olympus day where we have a whole kit of Olympus gear. People come out, they bring their own cameras, play around the Olympus stuff. It's not a sales pitch, just to get out and have a fun day. That's a good friend of mine was on the weekend, and she's looking to go from potentially Nikon to Olympus. So she wanted to have a bit of a play. And we had a good chat about white balance, because she set her white balance manually on all the way through, even though she shoots raw. And we sort of had that conversation, like, look, that's, we're in a rainforest, and she was shooting at sort of 5,600 Kelvin's daylight, and everything's coming out quite blue. And I'm like, well, that's because, it's a shadows are blue, and we're in a cool sort of environment, in a cool light. But then she was saying that, okay, well, I shoot on this color temperature. I said, well, when you go and edit your raw stuff, do you still slide your color temperature in? She goes, yeah, I still match it to what I want it to be. I said, well, you might as well shoot an auto, a white balance, and just do the same thing on the computer. And whether or not she's going to change her way or not, but I think, but it was just interesting how everyone understands things a little bit differently. And I guess, the main thing is you're getting your images right at the end, and you're happy with what you're doing. So,
And just further to that, and without wanting to dwell too much on it, but when it comes to white balance, here's a quick story. So quite a few years ago, I was shooting one of the rare weddings that I shoot. And I got to the church, and we're inside the church. And I was told as we're entering, no flash photography. Now, it would have been really nice to know that like a few weeks beforehand, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And I was at that point shooting RAW plus JPEG, and I wanted the JPEGs to be pretty good, but there is no white balance setting for stained glass.
Yeah.
So I had to do a custom white balance, which is not something that is easily achieved even by a lot of pros stuff it up.
Yeah.
And to achieve a custom white balance, you ideally need a grey card, which is what you were just talking about before, a GC18 or a grey card. Is that the name from a grey card? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a grey card. Yep.
And it dawned on me that if you don't have a grey card, but you are a low pro user, so in other words, your camera bag is made by low pro, if you open up your camera bag, 9 out of 10 of their bags on the inside are grey, and that happens to be exactly the right grey that you need. And that's a little life hack for you. If you're ever stuck and need to do a custom white balance, you can use the inside of your low pro camera bag. I was looking around before, hoping I had one, but I haven't got one.
I just meet off about there.
Yeah, that looks about right.
Yeah, it was a grey beard.
So this is why camera and photo grey as well. So it's pretty close.
Yeah. We've got a few people having a bit of a chat on here. G'day Ben, and g'day David and Neil, and a few others. I feel like I'm in play school.
Ben Cunningham, hello. Even Cam and Brendan, when setting your light metering system for landscape, which one do you prefer to select?
And I replied with I use mostly center weighted metering for mine. And you have generally most cameras will have 3 different metering systems. So there's usually evaluated metering, center weighted metering, and spot metering. Nikon have like a matrix metering, and I think Canon have another type of metering as well.
Olympus have ESP.
They have ESP. They have all different ones. They all pretty much mean the same, really.
Correct.
So in a nutshell, evaluated metering is taking a reading from my whole picture here, from all over the shop, taking readings, light, dark, mid, everything like that. Center weighted is more, where you're pointing your camera, and then spot metering is like a real sort of 1% spot of your frame, which I if I'm doing spot metering, I use spot metering at weddings a bit, just to meter off the dress or meter off the bride or groom's face, just to make sure that you get the exposure right. So
spot metering can be a heap of fun. I personally, again, if I was still shooting weddings, which but if I was, I would probably not trust myself to use spot metering, because I've been taking too long to get the image. Spot metering, of course, is absolutely brilliant to shoot the full moon. So when people are, quite often when there's a full moon, and I mean, what's with the super moon malarkey, Cam? Like every moon seems to be a super moon now, or a blue moon,
or a blood moon,
or a blood moon.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, no.
It actually cracked me up. The super moon that the media grabbed hold of, and I was expecting it to rise with a giant S spray painted on it, and something, or the bat symbol on it or something.
With a cape hanging off the back.
But the fact is, the super moon was literally 2% bigger than it normally is.
Yeah,
2%.
Right. Yeah, and if you look at most of people's supermoon shots, they've blown them up anyway, or stuck the clouds behind them, or all these silly shots of moons come out. So.
Yeah. But so the first thing I always say to people is work out how to spot meter, because then you're literally just using the light reflected off the moon, and then you'll be able to see the detail in the craters and things like that.
Yep.
So quite often, keen amateurs will try and take photos of the moon, but use, as you were saying, the whole screen to meter, evaluative metering, and it's not going to work out. It's going to take into consideration the dark area, which is going to give you a shutter speed that's just not going to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's time that I crack.
I was going to say, you're going to crack. What are you drinking there? What's that?
This is Monteith's Summer Ale.
In the middle of winter.
Because the snow behind you just screams summer beer, right? So
it does. While you're cracking that open, I'm going to crack open our little Lightroom screen that we're going to show off some images and have a bit of a chat about. Is that what we're doing next, I think?
Yeah, just a little bit about Monteith's Summer Ale, made in Greymouth, New Zealand, and it's actually a honey ginger beer.
A honey ginger beer?
Yeah, and it's absolutely mother's milk.
Right, I don't think I've ever tried that one. So I'm just going to shuffle a few things around on my screen here. People should be able to see our little zoom here.
We're starting with that one?
Yeah, this is the first one. So this is one of Brendan's shots, and we'll keep the stories behind them relatively brief because we've got a fair bit to get through. But this one looks like, I don't know where this. I know it's Duck Point according to the JP thing, but I don't know where Duck Point is. That Wilson's Prom or something? No.
Oh, mate, that's just that is Wilson's Prom.
Is it? And I don't know. I'm only looking at those rocks. Over on the right there.
So what we've got here, so this is a place called Duck Point, which is
that was pure ass, by the way.
Well done. Yeah. The nearest town to Duck Point is Yanaki, which is basically as you're heading down to down that way. I'm just trying to think. It's where the peninsula really narrows, and then before the promontory actually starts. Anyway, long story short, I was there with my family. That photo is taken with my then 12-month-old son in my backpack.
In your backpack?
In my back. I had this backpack that I could put him in, and then I'd put my camera backpack on my front, which was really cool. Right. He really enjoyed it because I'd run around like a lunatic when the sun was setting. Yeah. So the boat that you see there, now the observant of you will notice that there is a drag mark in front of the boat. That's because I dragged that boat there.
Oh,
so
cheeky.
So that boat was flipped upside down and further up the beach, obviously above the high tide mark. And I thought, oh man, I need some foreground here. And I saw the boat and I looked around. I was like, hey, bugger it. They can only tell me not to do it. So I flipped the boat over and dragged it down, plonked down my tripod, and got that shot. And
that's pretty cheeky.
It is pretty cheeky.
It's good. It's good thinking, but it's pretty cheeky.
Well, sometimes you got to create, right? And
you do.
I just thought, it would have been a cool shot without it. There's some cool leading lines and that sort of stuff. But I love the fact that the boat completely intersects that line along the beach and runs literally perpendicular to it.
Yeah.
It just made for a cool shot. I'm battling to remember what system I shot that on. I'm sorry. Has it got say up there I can't quite read the XFW. I think that's on my Olympus.
It's a 9-18, so it looks like
it's going to be on my original Olympus E300. Yes,
right, there you go. One thing I do admire about you is that the photos that you have and the great photos that you do have, they are shot on like a complete, whole range of different cameras, different lenses, different everything. And I guess it just sort of goes to show that the camera is not what makes a photo. It's the person taking the photo, the vision, the editing, the whole lot. But I always admire that about you, where you sort of you whatever you've said it before. I'll just grab whatever I've got on the way out and make it work, which is great. So
I sort of these days I almost wear that like a badge of honor because I'm not married to a brand.
Yet.
A lot of my shots early days were shot on Olympus. That's because when I was working at Camera House, I was working with you when I shot this photo, probably.
Right.
Oh no, it would have been like a year later or a couple of years later. But
after my exit,
when I was working at Camera House in Elizabeth Street in Melbourne, about 5 of us got selected to go. I think you were with us, and we went. We headed over towards Gippsland for a photo day. Just shooting the Olympus gear. And then when we got back in the four-wheel drives, they said, oh, by the way, you can keep those cameras.
No, that wasn't me. I never got that.
So I got an Olympus E300 and a couple of lenses, including the 9-18, just handed to me.
And you're still not loyal to them?
Well, I was loyal for quite some time.
Wow.
And I got that nice photo. Now, P.S., one last thing I'll say about this photo. And by the way, if you like what we're talking about, leave a comment below. That photo magically one day appeared in the Herald Sun.
Really? Magically, as in they took it off you and didn't credit, or
no, they actually. It was bizarre. It was years ago. Now they do this thing called Your Shot, where it goes in the. Look, I haven't picked up Herald Sun for years. It's a fish and chip wrapper, as far as I'm concerned. But they have this thing now where it says Your Shot Victoria, and they put the photo. This was a forerunner to that just said Victoria, the place to be, or one of those old slogans that used to be on the number plates, right?
Yeah.
And then, they obviously scoured the internet and found that and chucked it up and put a link to my website. So I've still got it. I kept it too, just for posterity.
It's probably on some massive billboard in Japan or something like that. You probably wouldn't know. It could be sitting anywhere.
I have no doubt. So
could be on a Jetstar in-flight catalog or something.
Probably. So Duck Point, Yanaki, nice. On your way down to Wilson's Prom. I think on the other side of the peninsula is a place called Sandy Point, and that's the prom in the background. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Very good. Cool. Nice. All right. I chose a shot. This is one I've always liked, but this one is. I'll let you take over the comments there, Brendan, as I talk about this one.
Roger.
So this one's actually in a place called the Florentine Valley, which is about an hour and a half from home. And it's one of those places where you just get to know the location really well. And I've got a shot like this, similar sort of mood to it. I reckon I've got this shot about a dozen times in the same spot from the same lookout in the same time of year after the same weather event. So it's one of those spots where it's a beautiful old growth forest, and it's, there's layers and layers of forest and mountains. And if you stay around on a wet day, because Tasmania is so mountainous, a lot of the weather, not like in Victoria where the rain just comes across the flats and just sort of stays there all day. Tassie breaks it all up. So you go out to this spot on a rainy day, and guarantee if you hang around for 15, 20 minutes, you'll get a rain shower come through, then a sunburst will come through. And what the sun does, it heats all the trees up that are wet, and they all start steaming and they all start breathing. Then the sun breaks through the clouds. Then you get another rolling shower come through. And it's just one of those spots that I always like to go. And I think it's really important as a bit of a lesson for people. If you know a location, get to really know your location. If it's got potential to make some really nice photos, study it and sort of get a bit more intimate with the location and understand what happens in certain seasons and certain weather, certain times of the day. Because this one, I can go out there. I could have gone out there yesterday. We had a bit of rain around, was it the day before? I could have gone out there and got the exact same shot. So it's just one of those shots where history and weather repeats. And it's just got a real sort of mood to it where, it's sort of the light filters around the back of it and the rest of it just steams out. So I thought this was a good one just to demonstrate that, sometimes you can work with the location, and especially for people in lockdown where you might only have, a certain radius you can go out there. There might be a spot or a little park or a tree or something, there's something that might change each day or each time something happens with the weather. So this is shot also on my trusty Olympus with one of my favorite lenses of all time. I would put it up there in my top 3 lenses, is the 75mm 1.8 Olympus lens. It is an absolute cracking portrait lens for weddings, but for a mid sort of tele photo, that's the 150mm equivalent in 35mm terms, but it just gets you into landscape. So I'm probably about a kilometre back on a roadway here looking into this forest, but it just gets you enough into the scene to really sort of take your viewer into it. So it's a really good lens. I don't know what camera it was on. It's probably on EM1 Mark II or something like that. But yeah, that's just one of those spots I love, and I think we've all got those spots where you can sort of go back and yeah, it's a really cool spot.
You need to move the cursor off it. It's doing my head in.
Oh, am I doing that again? Is that better?
Well, I can see it on the Zoom thing, but it's probably gone.
Yeah,
okay.
That's all good.
Cool. No, very cool. And so yeah, that's a really cool shot. It's got a real ethereal look, about like almost a monochromatic sort of feel to it, and the layering's awesome. Really cool.
Yeah, and I processing this as well. People sort of may say, oh, how did you edit this? I've added, talking about color temperature before, this actually leads in pretty well to this, that I actually have cooled this down quite a lot. So it was actually a lot warmer than this, but I sort of went for the more of that blue sort of storm, wintry sort of feel to it. And I adjusted the color temperature to be a bit cooler in that situation. So yeah, it's one of my favorite spots. And like, it's just literally from, you could take it from the car window, this shot. It is on the side of the Gordon River Road. For anyone who wants to go there, it's about 30 kilometres out of a town called Medina, just before you turn down another road called the Scotts Peak Dam Road, which is one of the best roads in Australia you can explore. So,
and another fine example of using not necessarily a wide angle lens for landscape.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and just using that telephoto or mid telephoto length just allows you to get into the scene a bit more. And I try and get people to train their eyes. People just get there and they see wide angles. Like, look right into it. Like, look where the light is. Look at the trees. There's so much going on in this little shot. Every one of those individual trees is almost like a little person standing there. So, look into your scene, chuck a different lens on, scan around, see what's going on. And
so for the non-Olympus users out there, just so you're all playing along on the same page, a 75mm lens on an Olympus or a Panasonic or anything that uses the 4/3 or micro 4/3 sensor is the equivalent to a 150mm lens in full frame speak. So that's the difference that you get when you use Olympus. You have a 2 times crop factor on the actual lens, so it becomes a 75 becomes a 150. So that's a great example of using effectively a 150mm zoom lens for a landscape.
Yeah. Which a lot of people would say, like, that's, why would you do it? It's not landscape. But yeah, I challenge people to go out with their cameras and take a telephoto only. We do certain things on my workshops where, it depends what mood I'm in, depending on what's going on the day. We might wake up and I'm like, right, guys, you can use your 200mm all day. That's it. That's all you've got to use. Leave the other lenses back in the hotel room. We're shooting 200mm all day, and it just completely switches their mindset into looking at something different. We do other days where it's like, right, you can only shoot 2.8, f2.8 today, or f4. We do a little different challenges on workshops just to really test you, change it up a bit, get you thinking a bit outside the square a bit as well. So,
very cool.
Oh, yeah, I love this.
So we'll head over to this one. So this is another one of mine. Look, by some absolute chance, this is the third image in a row we've shown that's been shot on Olympus. Again, we are not sponsored by anyone.
According to Ash Hughes, Monteith should be sponsoring this program.
Yes, they should be.
Does anyone have a contact to any alcohol company that would want to sponsor a show? I wouldn't argue.
So what we've got here is a photo that I shot. This is, again, quite a few years ago now. It was sort of by chance. So I was on the Sunshine Coast up at Coolum. So I used to live on the Sunshine Coast, and we've got a lot of mates up there still. So we went up there for a bit of a trip, and we were heading to the Sunshine Coast Airport at Maroochydore, and our flight had been delayed by an hour. And there was a bit of a storm starting to brew and coming across, and I thought, oh well, we've got a bit of time to kill. We're not going to do it sitting in an airport or in an airport terminal. So we'll head back to Coolum and have a bit of a look at the beach. And I'm really, really glad I did, because this was the scene that I managed to capture. Now, quite often when you get storms coming across, particularly on the Sunshine Coast, they will close the beach and the flags get taken away. But they decided to leave this flag here, and it's one of those classic surf life-saving, like real, almost like the retro style. The newer ones have actually another sort of curved flag coming off the flagpole as well. So I kind of got lucky with this, and I really love the fact that we got a little burst of sun off to the left-hand side of the image, and it cast that shadow of the flagpole.
Yeah, and I think it's also catching the flag. I think that light as well.
It is, yeah.
Highlights it against that dark sky. Awesome.
Yeah, so it was one of those shots that I got in camera really quickly and just sort of didn't think a lot of it until I got it back and chucked it into Photoshop and went, hang on a minute, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's got a really cool intersection with the pole and the horizon, which I really like. And I really like the negative space out to the right. Listen to me talking like I love my own stuff.
You know what you've done in this one as well, which is against the rules. You've put the horizon straight through the guts.
I know. How dare me? What a loser.
So you've sort of you've done the rule of thirds sort of partly. So you've got the pole on the left-hand side, but the horizon straight through the middle. But I think if the horizon was higher or lower, it wouldn't work. It would not actually balance this shot out as well as it does. And I think what it does is gives that flag its whole space of its own. The flag is awesome, I reckon, and the sand hole, like the little shadow, it looks really cool.
Well, the other thing that sort of, there's a couple of things that top it off as well.
Hello, hang on.
I've
just decided I didn't like it anymore and swap photos.
That's fine. We can talk about your photos more if you like. One thing about this photo is there's no people in it. Which was pretty cool. The storm had sort of meant that the beach was pretty empty, and we'd had a big rain storm go across already, and it just completely flattened the beach. So footprintless, which is really rare as well at a place like Coolum, which is a very popular beach.
Did you say footprintless?
It was footprintless.
Is that one word or hyphenated?
I don't know, but I'm sure it's a word now. And and of course, this photo I put on display at my shop here in Ocean Grove in Southern Victoria. And of course, every second person, oh, is that Ocean Grove? And I just go, sure.
If it's going to sell it, it's whatever you want it to be.
Look, it's a classic beach scene, and it could be any beach in Australia, I guess. But that is definitely a Queensland surf life-saving flag.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's
thank you.
It's iconic. All right, I'm going to show a shot here, which is a really amazing lesson on what not to do when you're out hiking and shooting stuff. So this shot on your screen at home, ladies and gentlemen, probably looks okay. It probably looks like it's a pretty good sort of attempt at capturing that sort of mountain range in the background. But what you can't see in this photo is the absolute terrible grain and noise all the way through this shot. So this is a shot. This is a shot from the peak of Mount Ossa, which is Tasmania's highest peak. And you're looking into the labyrinth and into the back of Mount Geryon and a few others. All these amazing peaks, all created by glacier or dolerite sort of cliffs and stuff like that. So this is a massive climb. So to get to here, from the nearest road, it's about an 8 to 12 hour climb. We passed this mountain on the overland track, which is on day 4. And if the weather's good, we generally do a side trip, but it's still a good 3 or 4 hours up and back up this mountain. There's 3 false summits. There's no water up the top. It's a real ball breaker to get up. Anyway, so we got up there, got the clients up there. It was a stunning day. Got these beautiful shots, got home, and I'm looking at these files. And I'm like, what's wrong with, why is this so grainy? Why is it so, looks over processed? And then I realized that the night before we'd been shooting astro at the hut, and I'd left my settings on my camera to the same settings as my astro. So up on the left-hand side there, you can see it's ISO 3200. And that's what's creating that grain and that grain. It still works, but to print it big and things like that, it looks more like a painting than anything. So I was kicking myself, and I didn't realize. I should have probably heard the shutter going so fast and put 2 and 2 together. But by the time I got at the top there, I was pretty knackered. The legs were a bit shaky. I was thirsty, tired, and we still had to sort of get up and get down and back to the next camp. So yeah, real lesson. This one was to always check your camera the night after you do some astrophotography, or when you get home from doing astrophotography, just reset your camera to an ISO that's reasonable. Otherwise, you might climb the highest mountain in your state and waste an absolute stunning view on ISO 3200. So I can't really do. I've used this shot a few times mainly as a digital file for customers and things like that. But I would have loved to have got something like this printed and put it on my wall or try to sell it. But because of that 3200 noise, I could probably change it around now with the AI and the noise reduction programs going around. I haven't thought about doing that, but it's an incredible place.
Well, one thing I'd like to interject here is I've never seen that landscape before, ever.
Yeah.
You could have told me that was in the Himalayas. You could have told me that was in South America. Right. It's absolutely gorgeous, and what a view!
It's an incredible view, and that's just looking one way. It's like that 360 degrees all the way around. So this is smack bang in the middle of the World Heritage Area. So you're really in a very, very unique part of the world with geology. You've got different trees, different animals, different history, everything like that. So it's an incredible climb, and we will touch on the overland track in a bit if we get time to get through to that. But yeah, next time I'm out shooting astro, or every time I do now, I make sure that I always check it. I've never made that mistake again. This is back in 2014, I think it was. I've never made that mistake again. Sadly, I think it was 2014. 2016. Sorry. So sadly, I haven't been up the top of Mount Ossa over the numerous trips I've done past this mountain. It's always been snow or bad weather, and we just haven't been able to get back up there. So that was a one chance that I need to try and repeat and get up there for. So yeah, interesting.
There you go. That's awesome, and it just further proof that even the best photographers can still overlook something and stuff it up. So it is really important that if you're doing a particular kind of photography, as you say, astro in particular, because you go nuts with the different settings on astro, to remember to switch it all back before you pop it away in the camera bag.
Yeah, which I didn't. And that's the thing, like, especially if we talk about a little bit later on about hiking and the overland track and stuff like that, it's physically tiring, and it needs a bit of effort, but mentally as well, it can really get you. Like, you're doing this repeat after repeat, day after day hiking, and if you're trying to take photos, you really do need to concentrate it and check your settings and make sure everything's set up and make sure your tripod's sturdy. Like, you make little mistakes and really ruin a good trip by dropping a camera or setting your camera up wrong or things like that. So
yeah, and as Jenny says, that would look amazing in snow, but as you've just said, is it just impossible to get up there?
Look, you can get up there. There's a section that goes up sort of about halfway up the climb. There's a section that goes through like a rock gorge, and in summer, if you walk up there, you can see the rocks are just piled on and just stuck. You can actually see through the gaps like 200 meters below you into the valley.
Yeah.
So in snow, if you go across there and you slip through one of those holes, it's not going to end well. But people do get up there. It's not uncommon. Just when I'm running tours and I've got the responsibility and liability of people, I just don't take that risk. It's just not worth it.
Fair enough too.
Yeah.
Moving right along by the looks. So this is a photo that I took at Lake Tyrrell, which is up near Sea Lake in northwestern Victoria. And are we getting a bit of a theme here between the last photo of mine and this one?
You like
horizon in the middle intersected by a pole.
Yeah, you like poles and horizons and things intersecting.
Yeah, this shot I was really wrapped with. It was so it was sort of between lockdowns, and this was the trip I did up to Mungo National Park, and on the way back we decided that we should head out to Tyrrell. Which I've been to before plenty of times because I grew up not far from this spot. I grew up in the sunny town of Swan Hill, not too far away from Sea Lake. So I've been there quite a lot, but never really as a photographer.
Yeah.
So it was awesome to see this. And this is actually, the lake is behind me and over my left shoulder in this photo. This is actually facing away from the big show there, the Lake Tyrrell. I just love the old telegraph pole there and the wires still hanging down from it. That God only knows how long that's been there for.
Is that an old? That obviously that would be an old telephone line, like the telegraph.
Oh, I'm guessing telegraph. Yeah, that's right. So back, I mean, it could be 100 years old. I don't actually know, and I should.
Yeah.
But what we're looking at here, folks, is an iPhone shot.
You and your iPhones.
Yeah, I mean, I had the I think what I had with me, I had my Canon there with the big wide angle lens and all that sort of stuff, but it wasn't really doing it for me. And the iPhone in its 16:9 ratio was doing it for me, and I just thought, I'll just grab this shot. And it turned out pretty cool. I was happy with it. Again, not a heap of editing required in something like this. Probably just lifted the shadows a little bit.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I do that. I lift the shadows just to reveal a bit more detail in the darker areas, and also just toy with the contrast a wee bit. But and normally I do add probably about a 5% vignette as well, just to sort of bring people's focus onto the main area of the photo. It's one of those shots that comes up almost better on a screen on a backlit panel than it does as a print, but it still prints up really well on canvas. So really happy with the shot.
It just goes to show us how good the iPhones are these days, and how you can still create beautiful work with an iPhone. You don't necessarily have to worry. If printing big is not your thing or not what you're interested in, then the iPhone's probably going to do a pretty damn bloody good job going forward. So if you're going to post things on social media, then away you go. That's all done for you.
Yeah, and the other cool thing about this photo is, I don't know how, but I managed to not get a fly in it.
Yeah.
Because there was about 40 billion of them there.
I love the sky too, the clouds, and you can just imagine late afternoon, them clouds lighting up would be really, really cool as well. So.
Yeah, we unfortunately didn't have time to hang around for the sunset this time. We had to get back, but definitely on the list for next time. In fact, we actually planned another trip up there about a month ago, and we got locked down and couldn't do it. So it's on the list. So Lake Tyrrell, for my friends here in Victoria, a bit easier to get to, but highly recommend it.
I went past there on the way to the Flinders. I stopped there and had a look.
You did?
Yeah, and there was water in it, and I thought, this is pretty cool, but I've got to keep moving. So I didn't.
It'd actually be a really cool spot for the drone too.
Yeah, is it illegal there? Or?
No, it's not it's not listed as any one of those parks where you can't fly.
Yeah,
just the normal rules and regulations around people and stuff would apply. Excellent. So let's move on to the last one of yours.
Yeah, this is my last one.
And then, folks, the part you've been waiting for, we're going to announce the winners of the Sunrise photo competition.
And if anyone had their wits about them, they probably see down the bottom which ones may or may not made it.
Oh dear, look at that, a little sneak preview.
Yeah, I got to get rid of that pretty quick. So this one, this is a shot taken in the walls of Jerusalem, which is a little compact national park. It runs parallel next to Cradle Mountain National Park. So for you guys who have been to Tassie, if you know Devonport, Cradle Mountain is sort of directly south from Devonport. This is a little bit to the east. It's a real compact little park, but there is a very famous shot from Peter Dombrovskis taken in this park of this exact pencil pine with a little bit of dusting of snow on it. But I went there with a friend of mine and we were having a look around, and I knew roughly where this tree was and I knew where the photo was taken, but I thought it'd be really cool just to go check it out and, see how much it's changed over the last 30 or 40 years since Peter photographed it. And, get some photos from around that area. But when I got to this tree, we literally just popped out on the little wombat track that was there, and there this tree was, and the conditions were just perfect. Beautiful fog, this lone pencil pine just sort of sitting there. This tree is probably, good 600, 700, 800 years old. Maybe it's an ancient sort of tree, and it hasn't changed much at all. So people, if you, it's called the Pool of Saloom, I think it's called. If you look up Peter Dombrovskis' work, you'll see a shot that's a lot better than this with a lot of it of dusting of snow. But it sort of got me thinking. I was really, really hesitant to take this shot, and I was really even more hesitant to put it online and share it with people because I was just a bit concerned about, the backlash of people might think I'm sort of trying to copy his work or trying to live in his shadow or trying to walk in his footsteps, whatever it may be. But I just found it an absolute privilege to be able to find the spot that he was stand there and take a similar spot. There's not many places in the world where you can literally stand in the footsteps of your idols and the people that you aspire to. So, and Tassie has a lot of these spots that Peter went to that are incredibly famous photographs now. But it was a really, really surreal moment, and the conditions were just perfect. I was using a Fuji camera on here, and I know for a fact that Peter was using Fuji Provia film, and the Fuji actually has a film profile which matches the Provia film profile. So it's been shot in the same film profile as what he shot. I've tried to keep it to the same ratio of 5" by 4" film that he did. But it was more a bit of a tribute, my little thanks to him, saying, thanks for the inspiration and what an amazing place to go. But it's one of my favorites. I'd love to get this printed and put in my house and have it as my own little sort of memento to it. But just an amazing place, really, really cool national park. If you're coming down here and you don't have, days and days of time to spend in Tassie, you can literally walk to this spot in a day, in and out in a day quite easily. And this is just a precursor to the beauty of the park. So it is a really, really cool spot. But yeah, I just thought, there's nothing wrong with sort of, taking shots that have inspired you or following in people's footsteps. I think if you're trying to pass it off as your own idea or trying to pass it off and, outdo someone or something like that, then that's a bit different. But the fact that it was more just a privilege to stand there, and yeah, that's sort of to me what photography should be all about, really, just enjoying those moments.
So just once again, the name of that national park, where's that one?
It is the Walls of Jerusalem.
Walls of Jerusalem, yeah.
Yeah, and it is, it literally runs parallel to the Cradle Mountain Lake Sinclair National Park to the east, but it's nowhere near as big. It's you can literally go in and out in a day. Take us about a 1 hour sort of climb up through, fairly easy climb up to the forest. And then you're on the plateau and you're just surrounded by these and huge mountains. There's sort of big sort of gateways of mountains that you walk through and old huts and things like that. It's a really cool little spot. But
no, that's very cool, mate. All right, so that's a good little selection of some photos. If you guys have enjoyed listening to us bang on about our own stuff and each other's stuff, leave a comment below. If you want to see more, we can do more of this in the next live show or even one of our regular weekly episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to do a regular weekly episode this week, Cam? Or are we doing it?
I think we're doing it. So yeah, we might have this one as our normal weekly, and then we'll come back next week, I reckon.
Yeah,
we'll give ourselves. I think we need to watch the footy finals and have a break. And
oh yes, there is that. I remember last time we went live, we were up against the Boomers kicking off their campaign in Tokyo. So we got a bit of feedback on that about the timing of it as well.
We did, yes, and we are also going up against another landscape YouTube show running live at the moment as well, which
we won't mention.
Well, there's no point mentioning them because really the best viewers are here with us. Really, they don't need to.
I'd like to just, as we're going along, say hello to the 30. It hit 31 people watching a minute ago. We must have said something that offended someone because they left.
Yeah,
but that's
maybe.
okay.
That's okay. Well, I did a bit of a share on Facebook just before, just to say that we're live. So
nice.
If you guys are sitting on your computers, feel free to share. Just share the link of this around and see how many people we can get in here. We don't care if there's one person or 100 people. Really, we just enjoy talking and having everyone here.
That's right.
So, without further ado,
yes, shall we move on to the the sunrise competition?
Yes,
so,
I think we should. We had 15 entries and we narrowed it down to our top 5, with the number 1 being the one that wins. Now, these files I've taken off Facebook, so they're not high-res files and probably won't look as beautiful as they normally do on their normal resolution that you guys have seen. But we had some really beautiful entries, and it was just great to see people getting up and taking photos and capturing the beauty that's around them, whether or not you're in lockdown or not. There was a few Tasmanians, there's a few Victorians, and I think there was a couple of people from further up the country. But number 5, we came in. So this is from David Ollenhoff, who is a Tasmanian photographer. Now, I'll just make sure that's too big. Hang on. I'll make sure it's not too big. That looks all right on the screen. Yeah, so they are a little bit low res, but this is our number 5 pick, and this is pretty cool shot from the north of Tassie along the coastline with some pretty gnarly rocks, which Tassie has a lot of coastline that has these incredible spots. So well done, David. This is a really cool shot. David does some incredible work. So if you haven't seen his work, look up David Oldenhoff on Facebook. He's got some
nice. We're even giving out plugs now. This is brilliant.
He does some stunning work, and very rarely, if at all, do you see a photo he doesn't post up where you just don't go, oh, okay, that catches my attention. So yeah,
great work, David. It's a cool shot. I really like the composition.
Yeah, it is cool.
Looks awesome. So as Cam said, we're gonna count them down from 5 to 1. So if you finished 5th, 4th, 2nd, or the 3rd or 2nd, then these are all honourable mentions. So well done.
Yeah, cool. Next one is from Minette Stevens, or Min, as I know her. So Min's this is another Tasmanian shot. So I believe this is looking at over at the Bridgewater Bridge, which is just on the River Derwent up from Hobart here. So, but it's a pretty incredible sky, and we, like you said as well, Brendan, you know how you say you've been getting some incredible sunsets. We've been getting some incredible sunrises here. So this has been almost, I would say, every couple of days down here in August. We've been getting these fiery sunrises taken off. So it's another cracking shot.
So a little pro tip for you when you're going out to shoot sunrise: if you're up at the crack, which you are, and you're heading out to take your photos, and you can just make out that high cloud, get into your position, because it's going to happen for you. Yep. That's the level of cloud that always delivers that kind of color. Low cloud, generally speaking, will not be as good, or the color won't be as fiery, generally speaking, on low level cloud, but that's hit the sweet spot right there.
Yeah.
And it's how good's the reflection too?
Yeah, the reflection's good. It's got a couple of little birds flying just above the mountains there as well. So yeah, it's an awesome shot. And I've seen Min's work over the last few years, actually, and it just continues to get better and better. So keep getting out there, keep practicing. Another Olympus user, so giddy up.
Jeez, we're hammering the Olympus plugs tonight. He's up.
I know, and they still won't sponsor us. No one's going to sponsor this. All right, next one. Whether or not he's still tuned in or he's finished his bottle of single malt. So this is David Marlin's shot of some wind farms in the west of Victoria, I believe it was.
This is a cracking shot. I really like this. This is really nice. Now, David's Ararat way, isn't he?
He is, David. He is from Ararat.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I actually drove past the wind farms in that area when I came back from Tyrrell, from that photo I showed earlier.
Yeah.
And as I was going by there, I was like, oh man, one day I'm going to come out, and then all of a sudden this thing appears, and how good. So again, minimalist, and so I think again a bit of a theme. I guess I do like minimalist stuff, and I like taking minimalist stuff, and I like seeing. I mean, the impact that it has with, again, the negative space. Not a lot going on, but it so works. It would be actually really cool if that windmill on the right was just there on its own.
Yeah.
I mean, it works. Don't get me wrong, but I just thought it'd be cool if it was just that one windmill sitting out there on its pattern alone, which probably doesn't exist. So you'd have to Photoshop it.
Yeah, I love the smoothness of the hill and the graduation of color coming up from the back of the hill. That's what sort of caught my eye on this one as well. So. Good stuff, David. You sent two in. That was the one we liked. So great work there. And again, David, hope to see you on another workshop soon. And yeah, get better at your photoshopping skills so you can Photoshop out the other windmills. Keep Brendan happy.
I'm so picky.
Next one here is from Carmel. So Carmel's another Hobartian. So this is not a Hobart show, but these are the ones that we got through. I don't know exactly where this is taken. I don't know if the description was there or whether or not I've just forgotten it. But
perhaps if she's watching, she could quickly comment below where this photo was taken.
Yeah, if you're watching, Carmel, please let us know exactly where this is taken. So again, this is, like you said, you're getting those incredible sunsets up in Torquay, Ocean Grove Way. We're just getting these fiery starts of the day. And I'm lucky. I work from home most days, or I'm out in the field doing stuff. And my wife, Lisa, heads off to work around about sort of 7:30 every morning, 7:15. I usually get the nudge to say, all right, I'm off to work, look after the kids, get them ready for school. And I reckon every second day she opens the front door, and as much as she's a beautiful woman as it is, she is glowing. She's absolutely glowing when that front door opens.
Okay. All right. What have you done wrong?
I haven't done anything wrong yet. Nothing yet. But she is glowing when she opens that front door, because these fiery sunsets come straight through our front of our house. And it's incredible. It's like she's opened up to the gates of hell almost. Sometimes it's just this bright orange glow, and that usually gets me out of bed, because I usually get up and have a quick look and I'm like, oh yeah, nice, that looks great. I'll go get the kids ready for bed. And
if I was married to you, I'd open the gates of hell regularly, I reckon.
you know Lisa very well, and you know she's as patient as a saint, as she would have to be with me. So
I really let's like off the rails. There's one real reason I love this photo, and it's the reflection. it's so cool, and how it's not all just reflection. The boat actually, dominates and takes your eye straight to it. Again, lowest res version of it here. I'd love to see the full res version of this.
Yeah. I hesitate to say that I think it's also another Olympus shot, I think. From memory, I think Carmel's been on a few Olympus days, so maybe it is an Olympus. David saying, thanks, guys. Brendan, give me a yell when you're out this way. There's a huge number of choices within 50 meters of that spot.
All right, David, it's a date. You are on. I am coming.
Bring the scotch, or he'll supply scotch. I was thinking you were going to say with this one, Brent, that you really love the fact that she dragged the boat into the front of the scene from up the jetty, and no, she didn't.
She would have done.
It's a lovely shot.
No, she has. She's definitely flipped that boat up the right way, and the reason I know this is because all good fishermen do not leave their boats like that.
All right.
So
you're causing some controversy here.
Absolutely. This image is manufactured. It's why it didn't win.
She'll get you.
Joking, of course. It's a beautiful image.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful image, Carmel. Well done. Yeah. I am joking.
All right. So
do we need a drum roll?
I don't do drum rolls very well, but if you want to.
Well, the image is already sitting there on the timeline at the bottom of your slide. So anyway, this here is our winner, and our winner receives a signed 16 by 24 inch print of Cameron's. Cameron, who took this?
So this is by Grant Smythe. Absolute beautiful, stunning shot of an old jetty. Again, I don't know exactly the location because I'm terrible at doing things, writing things down from my own notes. It's on our Facebook page, the location, but both when this one came through, both Brendan and I literally messaged each other and went, that's got to be the winner. That's a cracking shot. So really, really lovely composition. The old post, the reflection, the sky, the composition's lovely. So pretty hard to get a better sunrise shot than that with those reflections. So well done, Grant.
I'm going to bet that Grant got some very muddy boots doing this, and there's a couple of things I really love about it. Of course, the leading lines of the old jetty, which always a winner. The fact that you managed to pick up some really cool colour in the sky. Literally, I reckon the sun's on the horizon there, so you've done really well there.
Yeah.
But how cool is the crusty salt on the post?
Yeah, the salt things on the post is really cool. I'm just reading the comments quickly, Brendan. I'm gonna put a spanner in our works here. We might have to disqualify Carmel's shot because it was taken with a Canon.
Oh.
And it was taken at Dunalley, which is down towards Port Arthur on the Tasman Peninsula.
Sorry, was that Carmen?
That was Carmel.
Carmel, thank you so much for entering a photo shot on a Canon. You're a legend.
Well, yes, that's a beautiful shot. But anyway,
well, we're sick of all these bloody Olympus.
Okay, I won't mention Olympus for the rest of the evening.
All right, every time you mention Olympus, I'm having a drink. No. Hang on, that's not going to work.
That's going to work perfectly.
What camera did you just have in your hands, Cam?
This is my old OM1.
Good, you didn't say it. All right, well done.
Yeah, pretty smart. But yeah, I love this shot of Grant's. Straight away, we just both thought this is a really, really beautiful shot. Again, high res on this file looks pretty low res and takes away from the beauty of it. But I would think this would print extremely well and look amazing on someone's wall. And yeah, it's a beautiful shot.
I've just burst out laughing. David Marland, mine was also a Canon.
All right, that's 2 disqualifications.
I
think we're mentioning Canon too much there.
This is brilliant. Mel's just commented what's going on with all this Canon crap. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
Give him heaps, Mel. This guy is an Olympus fanboy and he will not back down.
Well, I don't know what this is shot on. Hang on. Maybe this doesn't have the information on. Damn it. Oh, well. Canon's fine, Nikon's fine. It's the photo that counts. So well done to Grant. And the photo that, so this is one of the photos that Brendan's actually printed at his fine lab there in Ocean Grove. And it's a shot that we'll send out in the next couple of days. So this is of the Tarkine, which is in the northwest of Tasmania. It's an incredibly unique location in Tassie. So that's all been printed. It's all ready to go. 16 by 24 inch, printed on archival satin paper or something like that, is it? What's the paper that's printed on?
So this is printed on, let me remember, this is printed on Ilford smooth pearl.
Smooth ball.
A beautiful paper. It's my default paper that I print most enlargements on for people. When I saw this image, it was just like, shut my front rusty gate. That was the depth in it, the tonal range in it. I just want to be there. I want to go there and stand there in that light. That was an absolute, and I'm not blowing smoke, Cam. It is an absolute cracking photo. And I think the thing I liked about it most was how well it printed. And sorry, was it Grant who's won that print?
It is Grant, yes.
Grant, you'll see what I mean when you get this image. You're going to absolutely love it. Go and get it framed. You got to chuck it up on your wall. It's an absolute hurler.
Funny thing about this shot is until I edited it and had a look at around it and thought, that's pretty nice, I never realised that the middle tree was snapped in half. I never realised that it was missing. Oh, yeah.
Well, there you go. I didn't know until you just said it either.
Yeah, so I never noticed it until I well and truly got home and edited it and had a look around. Oh, it's missing top the half. But I'm actually going here on the weekend, so I'm running a Tarkine workshop, pretty small one due to border restrictions, but got 3 people and we're going to head up to the Tarkine. And we'll be here probably on Friday or Saturday. We'll be out shooting this exact scene and having a look around this forest. But it's an incredible spot. But well done, Grant. Amazing shot. Well done to everyone else that's entered those shots apart from the Canon users. But everyone else did an amazing shot. And
don't listen to him. Don't listen to him.
Thank you very much for entering. And
we love all cameras equally. We think all cameras are fabulous. And nothing stirs up the comments quicker than a little nudge about what camera you're using.
Yeah. Tara says, I think Canon has taken over. As it should, says Mel. We're going to have to start banning people from this page, I think. Team Olympus. Thanks, Craig. Oh, he said Olympus, not me, so it's okay.
True. So I'll have to have a drink.
You have to have a drink. Amazing shots. And that's something I always get blown away with. Like, it doesn't, like even that Beaker Street competition I did, like the quality of people out there taking photos at the moment is just incredible. Like, everyone sort of likes our photos and you get lots of praise about the photos that we create. But I think everyone should be really super proud of the work they do, because it's very rarely these days that you see anyone produce images that aren't really nice. So,
Look, I could not agree more. So the digital revolution, let's say it was 2000, just to be even. I mean, it was around the turn of the century, and I love saying that phrase because it was something my granddad used to say. Yeah. But it was around the turn of the century, and there was people out there that particularly hardcore film users that just went, "Oh, photography's dead. It's finished. It's over. It's going to kill the industry." Yeah. It's absolutely gone the other way. It's boomed. It's put way more photographers out there, and people using taking photos with great gear, higher end gear, and got the interest in photography absolutely bubbling along. So in the 20 odd years since digital sort of came along, it's just made it so much more accessible for people. And I think the main thing is that instant gratification, that you you take the image, you see it on your screen, it's captured, it's there, away you go. So I'm really, really impressed with the quality. It just keeps getting better and better. It seems it keeps getting better and better and better, and more and more people doing it. So keep on doing it, folks. And I think it's just, we've said it before 1,000 times on this show, is that it's just so good for your mental health. Just to get out and shoot, and especially with everything what everyone's going through, if you can go out and come back with some nice photos, show some friends, it just gets something going inside you that that's really nice. I'm just looking at these comments, I think you are too, Brendan, about we've got Sony users. We've got Joe's asking if that Tarkine shot was taken on Olympus. No, it was not. It was taken on a Leica, would you believe? So I'm a bit of a camera whore. I've got lots of different brands of cameras, and it doesn't matter which camera it is. I always enjoy just taking shots and stuff. So, and Tara seems to think that she dropped a Canon lens. I said I'd help if it wasn't a Canon. Doesn't sound like something I'd say on a little workshop. I think we need to unearth something that's happened in your past with Canon. I think this is a topic for another day. There's obviously Something's happened, hasn't it? It's all right. No one's listening. You can tell me.
Well, it's funny. Like, your K1000 that you got the other day. I had a K1000. I think I had that through high school when I was studying photography in high school. But the very first autofocus camera I got, there it is right there. The very first autofocus camera I got was a Canon EOS 650. And I had no problems with Canons. I don't have an issue with Canon, but I find that over the years that I don't think they've always been the best brand in what they bring out. And I think the amount of advertising they chuck into their camera brands has dragged a lot of people into their sphere. And I think there's better options out there personally, but look, it doesn't make 2/5 of any difference of what your photos look like, what you use, what you don't use. It's just a bit of fun banter that we have on the workshops when we come along, and it just breaks the ice a bit. And as David said, it's all in good fun. Unless you're a Nikon user, then we've got some real issues. No, joking, of course.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I made the point in the podcast last week, because I'm now on this hunt for a new camera system or a new camera. If I got 5, 6, 7 different cameras, all with the same focal length lens, all on the same setting, and took the same photo, and then laid them out in front of you as a 6x4, an A4 print, you could not tell me which camera shot which photo, and you are guessing. I remember back in the day, you'd remember this, Cam, early 2000s, and you'd have people come in looking for cameras, and we had to actually, when we got the cameras, we would have to actually go out and do sample photos for people.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
And we'd have this folder at Camera House with all these.
That's right. We did too.
Photos in, and we had to write on them in Texter on the front.
Yeah.
What was what? Because
you couldn't tell what they were. Yeah, that's right.
It was it just sounded like such a waste of time. It felt like such a waste of time because and it was funny because we did that for quite a few years, and then all of a sudden we didn't need to do it anymore. And I think it was because salespeople were just like, it's a great camera.
Yeah. Well,
and the line I used to use when and I still use it when selling cameras is if a camera manufacturer got a reputation for making bad cameras, they'd be out of business.
Yeah.
So there ain't no bad cameras. There isn't. What it comes more down to is things like budget, things like size, what you're trying to get out, like lens range, legacy glass, so glass that you might already own. That's what it really boils down to. Brand loyalty, sure. I mean, if you've had a great experience with Canon your whole life, you're going to stick with Canon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're 100% right. It's just that it's what the camera does for you. It doesn't matter what name's on the front. Makes absolutely no difference. But I think the main reason people stick with brands is it's either loyalty through lenses or family members who had a camera, or they were given a gift for Christmas. That was the Canon they got, or the Nikon, Olympus, or whatever, and they just run with it. So I think the main thing you can take out of that is that it doesn't matter what brand you got, learn how to use it, learn the features, understand the settings, and you'll just get amazing shots out of it. So I think we've rescued everyone. They were all going to leave, but I've just said that Canon's okay, so they're all staying again. Campbell has just said, thankfully we now mention Nikon. I always mention Nikon, generally not always in the best light, but I can't do Nikon's menu systems. They just do much. When I'm in a workshop and someone rocks up with a Nikon, like, oh, Cam, so I want to change how I can change the self timer and change the aspect ratio, or this. I'm like, can you show me in the menu where to find it? And I just cringe. Like inside, I'm professional on the outside, of course, but in the inside, I'm like, this is going to take me months to find this bit on which part of the menu is this on.
Yeah, so, I've been caught out by Pentax, I think, the most. So Pentax don't sell anywhere near the amount of SLRs they used to. They still have the Pentax K3 is still on the market. It's a cool little camera. But if someone rocks up to a workshop with one of them, it's like, oh, okay, hopefully they don't ask me how to change white balance on that bad boy. It's normally the one that catches me out the most is the Pentax. The others I've generally got my head around now. So what were we have got a little topic here about hiking and photography.
We did. Yeah.
Now, look, we don't have a heap of time left. We're trying to keep the live shows to around 90 minutes. So we're already out at, what do we got here? 9:15. So we don't really have a heap of time.
About 15 minutes left to go.
Thereabouts. And if you can hear my dog barking in the background, that's just, Murphy's chiming in, just saying hi.
Yeah, I think he just said, "I love Canon." Pretty sure that's what he said.
I reckon he did, which is weird because he shoots Sony all the time. But there you go.
So I'll tell you what, the hiking one's probably that's a probably pretty big topic, and we can probably almost do a whole episode on hiking stuff. I think what would be more entertaining is to get an update on where you're at with your camera search.
Okay, so where I'm at with my camera search, I have been continuing my research, and for some reason, whenever I'm looking at a new anything, and I'm sure this has happened to the listeners and viewers as well, is you start researching it, you've honed it down to a model, and then go, oh, looks like there's a brand new one coming out in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, that happens to me quite often. And so, for example, with my iPhone, every time I go to get a new phone, it's out of contract, I want to upgrade.
Yeah.
Well, the new one. So the iPhone 13 is due out next month. So I'm going to hold off. Right. So it's the same with so the Sony A7 III, which is getting closer and closer to the top of my list of where I'm going to head. The Sony A7 IV is imminent, apparently. So now, do I follow my own advice that I give to my customers and say, save yourself some money, get the older model, it's going to get, no, of course I don't. I want the
new shiny one.
Well, that's it. You got to weigh it up, don't you?
Yeah,
and then
you
start looking at the specs. You go, oh, well, this has got that, and this is going to have that, and this is,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, that's not to say that a camera that was released 18 months, 2 years ago is no good. It's still a fantastic camera. And one little tip for people who may not know about this. There's this thing called firmware updates, which happens more regularly than you might think. So it's similar to iOS updates for your phone. So they update the help me out, Cam. Update the firmware, the operating system.
The operating. Yeah, sorry.
That's what I was looking for. They update the operating system on your phone regularly.
Yeah.
Well, camera manufacturers will do the same thing, and they'll quite often do it when a new model is imminent, because all those features that are on the new camera, you can quite often add quite a swathe of them to your camera by doing a firmware update.
That's right.
So what you can do, let's use, Canon as an example. If you have got a Canon 5D Mark IV, for example, jump onto Google, type in Canon 5D Mark IV latest firmware, and it'll give you the number of the latest firmware. So it might say 5.0.0.2.
Yeah.
Then when you go into the menu system of your camera and go to the firmware option, you can see that you've got 5.0.0.1.
Yeah.
So you can do a firmware update. They're not that difficult to do. Most firmware updates now are done online. So you plug your camera in via the USB cable supplied, you go to the website, you download the firmware, and it gets, the website talks to your camera and updates the firmware.
Yeah.
One thing to be really, really conscious of, do not have a power outage while you're doing your firmware update.
Or don't switch your camera off and make sure you got fully charged
touch
battery.
the bloody thing. Don't have one of your kids come past and pull out the cable while it's doing a firmware update, because you will then have a very expensive paperweight.
Yes.
It
just kills cameras, doesn't it?
It will render your camera useless, and it is very expensive to have the firmware reinstalled by the manufacturer. So,
we had a really good conversation on the weekend, and I have to name the brand of camera we were using and why this conversation is relevant. So we were using Olympus cameras, and someone was asking, shock of all horrors. Someone was asking me whether or not it's worth updating from the EM1 Mark II to the EM1 Mark III. And speaking of firmware updates, that's probably about a $1,200 difference in camera body price.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, you can update the firmware on the Mark II and get 98% of the features of what the Mark III has. And the 2% that's new to the Mark III is not always applicable to everyone in their genre of photography they like to do. So it is worth looking at. If you're looking at getting a new camera, look at the model that it's being superseded. You can check on, like Brendan said, you can check on all the websites. It'll give you a rundown of what updates it's going to do in that firmware, and you can just compare. You can say, right, well, I'm going to pay an extra $1,500 for a bit of extra this or a bit of extra that, is it really worth it? So, with the Olympus one, the addition was inbuilt neutral density filters, which if you've already got neutral density filters physically, doesn't make a difference. And there was a Star Astro autofocus mode. That was about it. Everything else is relatively the same. So do your research like Brendan's doing.
Yes, I'm actually just bringing up a website, DP Review. I think all half decent photographers know about DP Review.
Or is it D Preview?
Well, well, I think it's DP Review. But and you can go to, now I don't know, hopefully they've still got it, but you can actually go to their buying guides and you can put cameras side by side. You can literally do a side by side comparison of their of the camera, and it'll show you, literally what camera's got what, and they highlight in green what they think is the better option, and you can just scroll through. So DP Review is a really, really cool site to go to, and I'll add that into the comments so you can click on it and have a look.
I've already done that for him.
Bang.
It's like a well-oiled machine we are.
So dpreview.com, a fantastic website. They do really cool YouTube clips as well.
They do camera reviews and stuff like that. So based on that, I would suggest you're looking Sony.
Sony is still winning. As far as I'm concerned. I think
that'll keep Ash Hughes happy. He's a Sony man.
Ash Hughes is a Sony man. Was a Canon man, but now a Sony man.
Now that's something that's interesting that I noticed with my customers. There is, I would say, almost 100% of people that had Canons, if they go and change a brand, end up with Sony. And I don't know what it is. I would
say it's probably got to do with that they were Canon full frame and now they're Sony full frame.
Yep.
And the big difference being that Canon full frame, massive bodies, Sony full frame, small bodies. And then what do you know? Canon released their mirrorless lineup because they knew they were bleeding an audience to Sony.
Yeah, that's right.
Big time. So, I mean, there's a few reasons, and I mentioned this already, why I'm so interested in the Sony system, and that's because I've seen the results. As I say, I've got two staff members using Sony, one of whom has got an excellent array of lenses that he has said that I'm more than welcome to borrow whenever I want. So, but that won't be necessary because Sony are listening and they're going to ship me a camera and a few lenses any minute. I'm surprised they haven't turned up already.
I'm surprised they're not online listening live, to be honest. But
I'm sure they are. They are. They're in the background. They're one of those quiet, silent listeners, silent viewers.
How funny would it be though if someone was listening from Sony and they gave you a camera? I'd be sending an email to Olympus and asking.
It was funny because a couple of weeks ago, I wish I had a K1000 and one turned up in the mail.
Yeah, look, you rolled the genie. You never know.
So that's right. We'll see what happens. It could be my time. We'll just.
It could be your time.
Yeah. You're right. I have narrowed it down to Sony. I still haven't. I think I'm just going to wait a little bit longer until lockdown's over and I can, actually get my.
You're like a woman trying to buy a dress for an outfit or something, isn't it? You just, have a look at the next shop. I'll go to the next shop. I'll have a look here and I'll have a look there. Or just buy a camera. Just get over
What way to alienate half the audience, Cam? Nice one.
Well, women or man buying a car.
Too late.
So I've insulted all Canon users. And
I know. This is, wow. Look, we went from 30 viewers to 15. What?
Yeah,
what happened?
I know. I know we've gone up. We're on 30 viewers now. See,
no, you're right though. I do.
31.
I do. There we go. I do. Look, I've got time on my side. I've got camera gear. I don't need to buy a new camera.
Yeah,
I've got gear, but I think it's time I, particularly for my landscape stuff, time I invested a bit more into the gear I've got.
Yeah.
Mainly because I'm now selling massive photos, like big prints all the time, which I'm PS. Thank you to everyone who's buying my photography and buying massive canvases and stuff. I'm shipping a couple off tomorrow, actually, into lockdown areas. One to Caroline Springs, which is like the what do they call it? The epicenter.
Yeah,
ground zero of coronavirus in Melbourne at the moment.
Are you physically dropping it off?
Oh no! No. I'm giving it to Mr. TNT man, and he's okay. Go and take care of that. So
excellent.
Yeah. So as I say, quite regularly now people are going for my prints that are like a 1.5 meters by a meter or 60 by 40 inches.
Yeah.
And even on canvas, being that textured surface, which does hide the imperfections, I'm noticing, particularly with the older stuff, that the stuff that was shot 2010 or even 2008, that sort of stuff on my old Olympus E300, it doesn't quite cut it. And although a lot of people buy my stuff because they have an affinity with the area, particularly Ocean Grove, like the amount of the area behind me there, Point Lonsdale, the amount of people that got engaged on that jetty behind me, it's nuts. I would have thought I've sold a photo to every one of those people by now, but they just keep coming.
Yeah, and I think sensor size, like again, being a bit of an Olympus fanboy, like that's only a 2/3 or 4/3 sort of half sensor. But like I've got a couple of cameras, and I've actually got a medium format digital camera, which is obviously a really big sensor, and it is noticeable when you start getting those requests for big prints or hotels. I've put a lot of work into one of the hotels in Cradle, and they want 1.5 meters by a meter size prints. Like they're massive prints. And the old sort of files just don't hold up anymore to that. They still look good at a distance, but it's when you put them up next to a really nice sensor, full frame, medium format, or whatever it might be. You definitely see a difference. So
I talk all the time when I'm printing about correct viewing distance, and this is why I'm more than happy to take a photo from a phone and make a big canvas of it, because when I'm lucky enough to deliver the pictures to these people's houses. And you can see they've got big walls and big spaces.
Yeah.
You're not going to put a gigantic canvas, in your kitchen or in your dunny.
It could be a big dunny.
That's right. It's going to be, on a living room wall that's quite big. So you're going to be at correct viewing distance, which little fun fact is 3 times the diagonal.
Yeah, that's right.
3 times, if you measure it that way, and you go back 3 times, that is correct viewing distance. It also works the same for an LCD screen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I agree. All right, well, we'll keep an eye out on what you're going to rock up with, because I think you'll have a Sony pretty soon. I think
it's going to be the first lens.
And no, I haven't bought you one.
Yeah, you said that last time about the K1000. I think you'll have a K1000 pretty soon.
Yeah, no, I'm not buying you a Sony.
The first lens I'm going to get will be the 16-35. Now, whether I get the f4 or the f2.8 version, that depends.
The f2.8 is heavy.
Well, it also depends on the Minister for Finance, so we'll see about that one.
The Minister for War and Finance. Yep.
Well, it's also 3 times the price of the f4, and frankly, honestly, I don't know that I would shoot at below f4 very often. Aside from Astro stuff, which I don't shoot. I'm not. Who am I kidding, right? I don't shoot Astro. It's not my cup of tea. But I'm sure if I got into it, I'd probably do a bit more Astro. But generally, where I live, we get a lot of light pollution here anyway. So I'd have to go a fair way away to get good Astro. So So in the short term, it'd probably be the 16-35 f4.
Yeah, I think, and that's especially when like you're predominantly a landscape photographer, different if you're doing weddings or portraits and stuff like that. You don't need, unless you're doing a lot of Astro, you don't need that fast lens. You can get away with the f4 because most of the time you're shooting your landscapes at f8 or higher, really. So
that's right.
The glass quality is still going to be very good. And again, it just comes down to the sensor and, the right conditions and how you shoot. And it's funny because like I said, I've got quite a lot of cameras that I use, and I still go back to the one I like, and regardless of sensor size or whatever and lens size, I sort of come back to that camera that just makes it easy for me to do it. And I think that's important, that if you find that camera that feels comfortable in your hand and just works, doesn't matter what brand it is. I'm backpedaling here. I'm trying to get back in the good books of the Canon and Nikon.
No, I won't have any of it. You it's fine. You
stick to my guns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mine for the last 10 years has been my Nikon D5100 with the Sigma 10-20 lens.
Yeah.
There's a few things I love about it. One is I love the way it fits my hand. Like you say, it's easy to carry around. It's the battery seems to last. Like I can't remember the last time I charged that thing, and it just goes and goes and goes. It's awesome like that. Yeah. But it's reliable as well. So I've got great imagery out of that.
Yeah.
APS-C side censored 16 megapixel.
Yeah.
pretty ordinary little camera, but I'm a big fan of it. It's not what you got, it's how you use it.
No, that's right. Very good. All right. So
any more comments that we need to comment on? We are getting very close to time.
Sally's retracted a message, so that might have been having a go at me, maybe. But
Ash Hughes has commented, Canon's mirrorless lineup early on was pretty poor compared to Sony, and I agree.
It was
when Canon, it was almost like they rushed it, because I think some execs at Canon sat back and went, "Look at this, Sony, you're trying to put out a camera," and then they went, "Oh, whoops, it's really good.
Yeah,
we better do something about this," and they rushed their early mirrorless cameras to the market, as did Nikon, and they'd be the first to admit that.
Nikon rushed it so much they forgot to put an extra memory card slot in there.
That was that they really shot themselves in the foot there.
And then they brought out a memory card didn't they bring out a completely different type of memory card to use?
Oh, probably.
They thought it's like, you need to buy this $400 memory card just so it works in our camera.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, thanks for investing thousands and thousands of dollars into those beautiful lenses, but you need to buy an adapter to use it on our camera. It's like, come on, can you kick you in the balls enough or not? An
adapter that slows down the autofocus and doesn't always connect to your camera.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. Yeah, it was pretty ordinary, but they've tidied up their act. And as Ash quite rightly points out, they have cleaned up their act a lot. And Canon, and of course now Canon and Nikon are releasing their R series lenses and their Z series lenses respectively. So nowadays, if someone comes to me and they're like, "Well, I don't have legacy glass, I'm new," well, it really does open up. Okay, well, let's start looking at budgets. Let's start looking at the weight of the system, all that sort of stuff that we've already talked about.
That's probably the best angle to come in on. If you come in without having any sort of marriage to any system already, you're in a lot better spot, because it's so hard to part with legacy glass and the system that you're used to, the menu systems. It's really quite hard to pull yourself away from that. So if you come in from the angle that, I'm starting from scratch, I don't care what I go, I'm just going what's best for me, you'll have a better experience of buying a new camera, because the other experience is going to do your head in.
Yeah. And to that end, I'd just also like to throw in there, if you're watching this and you've got questions about new gear or secondhand gear or anything like that, as my battery nearly dies on my phone, so we're going to have to wrap this up pretty soon. If you've got any questions, by all means, get in contact with me or Cam. If you've got a question, you're under absolutely no obligation to buy anything off anyone.
Right.
And as we've already discovered, I am not brand. I'm not married to a brand. The problem these days with a lot of the bigger stores that you might wander into or that you might find online is they have brands shoving product down their neck at every turn. And they want them to sell their particular brand. So, and believe me, Cam and I have both been on that side of the fence. And sometimes it ain't fun, because you've got a boss telling you to sell X number of units of a certain camera that is a potato, and there's a far better camera for $50 more just over there, but you're not allowed to sell it. So, if you've got any questions, reach out to us. You can go through cameraandphoto.com.au, which is my website. Or you can send us an email, you can put up smoke signals, whatever you like. So that's how I worked in the plug for my business. Cam, did you like that?
Yeah, I did. It was very nice.
Yeah, no,
very subtle.
Thank you. That's as subtle as a sledgehammer. Now, Cameron, your websites are?
My website, the easiest one to get me on is camblakephotography.com.au. That's the easiest one to get me on. That's where all the workshops are, prints are. If you want any questions, email cam@tazphoto.com.au. Like Brendan, I'm with Brendan. If you've got any questions, and anyone's been on the workshop with me would know, piss takes aside, it's always a bit of fun, but we'll give you the advice that's right for you. We're not invested in any brands. We don't get paid by anyone. We don't get sponsored by anyone yet. So, if you've got any questions and, if you're unsure, there's no such thing as a silly question. Just drop us an email, drop us a message us on the Facebook page. We'll do a bit of research for you if you need some help. It's all about getting the right camera. It's more about just getting you guys out taking shots, really. That's what it's all about. Just enjoying what we do.
Yeah, and you'll also find when it comes to pricing and stuff like that, for just going back to what I do, I'm as competitive as anyone, so we can look after you there as well. So to Sally, Joe, Craig, Jesse, Campbell, Mel, everyone who's leaving these lovely comments saying that we've had a good episode tonight. Thank you. We don't have these without you guys, so we really appreciate the feedback and the comments below. We will let you all know if we're going to do this again live. I've got a sneaking.
I'm just laughing at Ash's comment. I
I've got a sneaking.
I was thinking
suspicion.
of that before. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah. So, thanks, mate. I will change my background next week. We will hopefully make our way out of all these horrible lockdowns and things, but while they keep going on, we will keep trying to entertain you guys as best we can. So, as I say, we'll probably do another live show way before we think we will. So, yeah. So, anything else to add, Cam, or should we wrap it up there?
No, I think let's wrap it up. Everyone's enjoyed the show. Again, thank you everyone for watching. Be sure to subscribe and ring the little notification bell. Please share this around with your friends, and if you've got other camera clubs or little groups on Facebook that you're in, share around. The more people we have on here, the more fun we have. But it's been great. These live shows are good fun, and look forward to the next one. We'll probably put up our next podcast / show next Friday, so Friday week. We'll have a little bit of a gap in here. Hopefully by then you're out of lockdown. And next week we might talk about some hiking or some old school format photography or something like that. We'll mix it up a bit, but it's been good. It's been great fun. I've just got to remember how to end this live broadcast now.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks. Really appreciate you watching. We'll catch you soon. Over and out. Bye now.
Thanks, guys. There we go. I think I recorded it.
Are we still?
I think we're fine now.
Are we out of YouTube Live?
It says no, the recording stopped.